We usually categorize faith as a religious concept, assuming it exists separately from our everyday rational certainty about the world. Think about the experience of stepping outside and looking up at the sky. You see the sun. It's bright, it's hot, and you experience the undeniable certainty that it is yellow. This feeling of knowing doesn't function like a chosen belief. When you stand in a crowd looking upward, you naturally assume that every person around you is experiencing the exact same objective fact. But here is the epistemological trap. You possess absolutely zero empirical evidence that anyone else in that crowd is experiencing the exact same color yellow that you are. Our bedrock certainty regarding a shared objective world relies on an unprovable assumption. Every moment of existence requires a massive act of blind trust. To prove what is real, we rely on empirical science and third-person observation. This method works perfectly for mapping the external world, such as measuring the exact physical wavelength of light emitting from the sun. However, this methodology breaks down entirely when we try to measure first-person interiority. This gap in our understanding is defined by a single term, qualia. Qualia is the purely subjective what-it-is-likeness of conscious experience, the internal feeling of a sensation. Because qualia cannot be placed on a physical lab bench, it is structurally impossible to extract your internal experience of a color and compare it with someone else's. The scientific method can map the physical mechanics of the universe, but it is structurally blind to the subjective experience of living inside it. The inability to cross into another mind creates a formal dead end known as underdetermination. Physical sensory data is logically insufficient to prove that subjective realities match. Wavelengths hit the sensory organs, but they stop at the boundary of the interior mind. To bypass this dead end, the human brain uses a structural solution, an involuntary inductive trust leap. Communication, empathy, and social coordination depend entirely on this mechanism. It is a mandatory requirement for survival as a cooperative species. Every single human interaction relies not on empirical proof, but on this continuous subconscious bridging of the unprovable void between minds. We can now clarify the definition of belief as a conscious, voluntary choice. This includes choosing a political ideology, supporting an economic theory, or adopting a specific theology. Faith, by contrast, is an involuntary epistemic necessity required to interact with the physical world. You do not actively choose to trust that your perception of yellow matches reality. The human brain is structurally compelled to accept it. The moment we step outside our own isolated minds, we are effectively forced across this unprovable epistemological bridge.